I'm Darren Wright, so I lead the Building Performance and Systems team at Arup. I also lead one of our related global skills networks. So today I'm going to be talking about what we mean by occupant satisfaction and how this relates to building performance and how it impacts the performance of the building and the people within it. So I'll outline some of the kind of work that we've been doing and specifically what we've been thinking about going forwards, and I'm going to talk about some of our research within that. So terminology, and we've heard some on this already today. So there's lots of standards and methods, but the thing I want to focus on today is the occupant and how satisfied they are within the building and how that impacts their performance. So at Arup, the method that we've used the most to date has been the building use studies methodology. This was developed out of sick building syndrome studies in the mid-80s, used for the SIBSI probe studies through the 90s and into 2000s. And we've continued to deliver it. We're now up to about 900 buildings in the benchmark for this. And we deliver it ourselves as Arup and through a partner network as well, around 23 trained partners. So some quick examples of the kind of work that we've been doing. So this was an Arup research project called Projects in Operation. So it's a very light touch evaluation of buildings, looking at energy, waste, and specifically collecting occupant data as well using the BUS method. So we've delivered around 35 buildings using this process now, the last 3 of which have been with the BCO as well. So it's quite a good, quick in and out, high-level appraisal of a building that can point you to where some of the problems are. Bigger project to mention was the TSB Building Performance Evaluation Research Programme. So this looked at over 100 buildings with all of these different kinds of metrics. And again, we applied BUS throughout on this one, training evaluators, and they delivered it. And the project reports for the BPE project are now all on this site, the Building Data Exchange. So I think this is starting to become a really useful resource for people that want to go in, find those reports, look at the findings and start to really dig into what all of that means. So we started to do some statistical studies on some of this research, and there's some interesting results. Here showing a correlation between comfort and productivity, people being more negative about open plan type buildings. These are all from the TSB project. So we defined a process for the research, collecting the data, validating and grouping it, and then exploring relationships between the different variables. And from this we can identify the differences in responses from subgroups of people. And to give you some idea of some of the results, people who work in the same area of a building for more than a year have increased negative perception towards the building overall and some of the noise related variables. People also have more negative perceptions about a broad range of variables. We've seen some stuff on this one already, significant differences between populations with and without temperature control, and this we've seen as a common theme throughout the BUS data set as well. Not only, I'd say, about having control though, but also about whether it works and whether people really understand what it is. Notably, there's some gender differences as well, women having significantly more negative perception towards air quality and conditions in winter. So we've already seen this slide and talked about this, so I won't dwell on that one. So given our research to date, we started to think again about priorities for Arup and what direction we were going in. So through our skills networks, we ran a series of workshops with some of our practitioners, and we came up with a number of themes around controls and optimisation of controls. We see in most buildings that controls aren't well designed, aren't well commissioned, and that leads to significant problems. Thinking about data capture and feedback, what are we collecting, why are we collecting it, thinking about what we're going to do with it in the future. Use of occupant data, which kind of relates back to some of what I've said already, and looking at indoor environmental quality in healthy spaces. We've been doing a lot of research into sensors. Buying sensors, testing them in buildings, looking at how reliable, how repeatable they are, those kind of things. So as a result of this, it kind of led us to think about last summer about what we were going to do next. So we came up with this new research project, And the concept was to carry out a far more detailed evaluation of a single space. But more than that, we decided we should do this by applying a number of different methods and techniques, even if they overlapped, and adding some elements that weren't generally considered, like human factors. So we applied a range of different methods to this. This is the typical occupant in a building. So our key research question: how do we measure the impact of the working environment on user performance and well-being? So this is the project that we've started, that we're partway through delivering now. So we needed to work with a number of stakeholders, and in this case with the landlord, the Crown Estate, and where we've had a close relationship, and with one of their tenants. And the project has been to date delivered as a co-funded piece of research, which also aligned with the Crown Estate's involvement with the UK GBC Wellbeing Lab. So this is the space. It's around 1,500 square metres, located in the West End of London. There's around 85 full-time occupants, and it's defined into two working environments and a quieter library space to the right-hand side. The tenant is an investment management firm with a focus on sustainability, as Jane mentioned earlier. So the methods that we've applied, thinking about indoor environmental monitoring, we put in a number of different sensors to collect data around temperature, humidity, air quality and so on. We ran a BUS survey, as we would do typically. We brought in our human factors specialist, so we did a lot more around sort of deep dive interviews and really getting under the skin of what people thought about the space. And we did a well standard gap analysis part of this as well. Our original intent was also to collect some HR data and see how that related. Unfortunately, we weren't able to in this space. From this, we're able to gather dozens of data points from across the different methodologies. But for today, I'm just going to focus on two of these. So thinking about air quality and noise in particular. And I'm going to talk about these because they most directly overlapped between the different methods that we applied. So looking at air quality and relative humidity, we've got the results there from the BUS survey. And it generally showed that people felt it was too dry, both in winter and in summer. And the more deep dive interview questions supported that as well. So people saying that they had to apply more cream, and some people to their skin, and some people even saying that they were having to go home early. But observations also picked up things like this, where people were actually putting humidifiers on desks as well. So sensor data, we took this over a 6-week period. Also went to support that. And you can see just from this slide, it was very dry, and in terms of the well standard, that credit wouldn't have been achieved. So going on to noise level, these factors here, again from the BUS survey, looking at noise overall and responses to 2 further questions. We can see that in noise overall, it's kind of a split result. With some of the result leaning towards unsatisfactory. And the majority of the unsatisfied group expressed that noise from colleagues was too much and that unwanted interruptions were too frequent. However, the open-ended survey responses reflected that noise levels were actually too low for some people. So this makes sense of the numerical data. To some degree. If noise was too low, then other conversations can appear really loud and distracting. And one clear performance impact that was noted, individuals commented that they could not collaborate with colleagues due to wanting to keep the silence. Interviews, however, showed that the library space was a really useful and well-used area for people wanting to go over and have those kind of conversations. So, for the well standard, credits relating to noise are mostly achieved, and this is interesting as it suggests that good performance for noise overall. However, the feedback we've seen from staff reflects that for some, noise is actually too low, causing nearby conversations to be distracting and a negative impact on performance overall. So this suggests that we have both workplace and cultural issues to deal with. The workplace needs to include the right kind of spaces for people to go to for quiet and focused tasks, but also for noisier, more collaborative tasks. And the culture demands some etiquette needs to be established so that people can take louder conversations away from the quieter working area, or if people are having long calls on mobile phones and things like that. So our project is still a work in progress at the moment. We've got large volumes of data now for the study of this space, and we're currently boiling this down so that we can better define the relationship between different methods and offer clear guidance on a step-by-step approach to answering specific occupant satisfaction, workplace and health and wellbeing questions. Based on our initial findings, I'd say that user perception is everything, and that was alluded to earlier by some of the other speakers. So having a robust survey methodology like the BUS that can quickly get you to that user view and perception is critical. Sensor data is really interesting. I'm a controls engineer by background, so I guess I have a few words of caution around it, just in terms of, okay, you know, we're seeing lots of cheaper, you know, multi-headed IoT type sensors coming onto the market at the moment. But I'd urge caution in terms of relying upon those until we really know how accurate and how repeatable they are. And the well standard, as we've already mentioned, you know, it focuses in on performance metrics. Does it focus on everything? I'm not really convinced at the moment. I think that there's still a bit more to be looked at in that respect. So what's next for us? Well, we have some more work to do with our initial findings and analysis and pulling our reports together. And the intent will then be to release some guidance in terms of methods and approach. And in terms of design, we're embarking on systems now that allow us to continually collect occupant feedback. So we're testing a new app for BUS at the moment, which links to Bluetooth beacons within the building. And we're considering data architecture at the heart of design as well, so that we can make sure that data is all properly tagged and easily recognisable and accessible for later on. That's it. Thank you.